How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel and the fan casting videos. We had just done the Fantastic Forecast. Sunny every day, all week. How fantastic. With the recent news of Disney acquiring all these assets and properties from Fox, it's re-sparked everyone's desire to talk about fan castings for Fantastic Four and X-Men. It's something that people have been doing for 15, 17 years or whatever, since the first X-Men, since forever. People have been wondering who would play these characters if they were in the MCU, or even just if Marvel had full control over these characters. So with the discussion being fresh and the possibility being very real, I thought we would take some time to sit down and talk about who I specifically want to play these characters. A lot of people say redo the X-Men just as the Uncanny X-men, the original team, so you would need Professor X, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Beast, Iceman, and Angel. Let's cast them first, and then worry about ancillary characters. There's a lot more characters to go through here, and I still kind of want to do the young and old thing, even though that is a little bit exhaustive. But we've seen a lot of the older X-Men, and it being a school, it would make a lot of sense for the X-Men to skew younger. It would also really help out the fact that Tom Holland is the only young member of the Avengers right now. Must be feeling a little lonely. Not a lot of these characters can probably relate to some of what he's going through. So first off, Professor X, he is a father figure. You know, he's the one who's organizing the entire group. He doesn't really need a young casting. He can be the same age no matter what. Prowling other fan castings here did not help me because people only seem to be able to imagine actors who have been bald before in the past. I'm guilty of that as well. It's super hard to picture someone like James McAvoy taking the part when you've never seen him without hair before. So I had a lot of difficulty coming up with anything of my own here. The most common ones I saw were Ralph Fiennes and Mark Strong, and I think Mark Strong would be a strong choice. Damn it, I can't believe I said that. That wasn't intentional. Cyclops. This one is goddamn impossible. He's supposed to be the leader of the group, right? And so you really want to nail that casting. My list for possible Cyclopses that I dug up is like 20 people long, and I don't know most of them. Matt Lanter, Garrett Hedlund, Ian Harding, they came up pretty frequently. I'm going to throw Jared Keeso in the mix, just because he's the best and I want a little bit more Canadian representation in there. This was nearly impossible for me to narrow down. Again, just not knowing enough young actors. So for this one specifically, I just kind of had to go with what I saw most commonly, and Logan Lerman came up a lot. I don't really know him, but a lot of other people seem to have faith in him that he could do the part justice. I'm going to do young and old at the same time here for each character, because only these core 5 characters are going to have the possibility of being young and old in my mind. Armie Hammer. He really just deserves to be a superhero. He would be perfect for it. And really, he would be a perfect Hal Jordan. But if the MCU wants him, they should get him in as Cyclops. Jean Grey. God, it's going to be hard to replace Famke. I don't really know her from anything other than X-Men, so it's really hard to get that out of my mind. I really do not like Sophie Turner in this role. I think she has a limited range, and Jean Grey does not fall within that range. As a whole, I'm mad that the Dark Phoenix movie is even happening, but that's a whole other discussion. So get her out of that role. She shouldn't be there. It's a character that you really want to get right. People were all over the place with their fan castings. Emma Stone, Anna Kendrick, pretty much every non-blonde actress you've ever heard of. One of the more common ones was Bryce Dallas Howard, but I'm just not really seeing that. I saw a couple people say Catherine McNamara, and that was a fun enough name for me to say yes to that. I'm trusting you guys that she's actually a qualified good actress and not just a redhead. My number one choice from what I've seen so far would be Amanda Righetti. She has a little bit more of the look that I personally am picturing for Jean Grey. I think she could add some real seriousness and weight to the character. I could see her being most likely to carry a Dark Phoenix storyline if they ever chose to go there again. And she's a little bit more age appropriate to play opposite Armie Hammer. I do not have the ability to predict chemistry on screen. That's gotta be one of the hardest parts about casting Cyclops and Jean Grey, is making sure that you get that right. For that reason, I don't have a ton of faith in any of those picks, really. Now, Beast, I feel, should be 100% a CGI character. I don't ever want to get to know him as a not CGI character. I don't want him to turn into a human sometimes. I don't really want to see another person in makeup, because in order to feel like a beast, he really has to have inhuman dimensions. He should be massive. He should have kind of like, dog-like legs and stuff. And if he's going to be 100% CG anyways, it doesn't really matter what age I put him at. Jeffrey Wright, he would be so good at playing that genius, sophisticated side of Hank. I don't really know if he could play the animalistic side of it, and he probably wouldn't be out there doing motion capture on set. At least not for the crazy physically exhaustive parts. At one point someone said Jordan Peele, and I thought that was a pretty cool choice. But my number one, everyone else is like, 10 levels below, is Toby Kebbell. I love him as an actor. He's a tried and true motion capture artist as well. He would kill it. You all know that that's a perfect casting choice. You're welcome. Moving on. Iceman, I do not know enough about the character. Him and Angel. I don't really know enough about the characters to cast them, but it is increasingly irritating that the entire MCU is like white and black. Could really use a few like Asian American actors in there. I think Iceman would be a really great opportunity for that. Considering I don't really know the character well enough to cast based on specific personality traits or anything like that, I basically just have to go off of actors that I like. So my young Bobby casting would be Boo Boo Stewart. Boo Boo's most of the way to Bobby, so you're pretty much there. I don't need any more justification than that. And for the little bit older, I would say Ludi Lin would be a good choice. It's a shame that he's already set to be an Aquaman. But he's Canadian, so we get a little bit of representation there. High five! Angel, again, I don't really know what's going on there. I'm pretty sure a big part of him is that he's a pretty boy, but then he has the wings. So it's like the guy basically would be a model, but then, shit, it's ruined because he's got these big dumb wings. So basically I'm just casting pretty boys who I think are also good actors. The young Angel, Dacre Montgomery. I'm guessing most of you saw Stranger Things. He was outstanding in that. I'm guessing maybe less of you saw Power Rangers. But hey, we could reunite him and Ludi from Power Rangers. When it comes to older Angel, Alan Ritchson. I did it. I finally found a role for him. Now I just gotta cast a few other characters, so I don't really care what age they are. The X-Men roster is 1 billion characters long, so I can't move down the entire list of it. I'm just gonna pick some ones who we've seen before, and who are inevitably gonna need to be recast. First up, Magneto. I recast him as Michael Fassbender. This one isn't fair. He's been played by Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender. Who are you going to replace him with? I just have such a man crush on Fassbender. How are you going to top that? Some big Walking Dead fan said maybe David Morrissey? I could maybe see it. But one of my favorite picks that I saw was Vincent Cassel. He's French, not German, but he could bring something pretty cool to this role. Pretty glaring intensity. I wish I knew more German actors, though, to try and cast there. Magneto's hard. I don't know what to do about that, because I can only picture Fassbender there now. We've seen so much of Mystique over the last few movies, and Jennifer Lawrence has obviously been phoning it in. But I guess we'll have to cast her eventually. The most common choice I've seen people put forward is Natalie Dormer, and while I think she would be a good fit, I think it's the same problem as Jennifer Lawrence. She's a bit of a rising star, and as soon as she starts taking on other big movie roles, is she really going to want to sit in the makeup chair for hours? If she's willing to stick with it and commit, then I'm sure she would be good, but I think I preferred the casting choice of Summer Glau. I think Sienna Miller was an interesting choice as well, but so far from what I've seen, I think Summer would be my number one pick. Wolverine. God damn. There is a billion different choices for Wolverine. It's too hard to not picture Hugh. It's really, really hard for anyone to come up with anything other than that. And because of that, pretty much every single list just said Tom Hardy. And I'm not convinced whatsoever. I bet he could bring something new to it. I bet he could do it. I bet he could be snarly and crude and mean. Hell, he might even be an outstanding Wolverine. But Wolverine needs to step out of the spotlight for a little bit. There's no way they're casting Tom Hardy without the intention for him to be like a big spotlight character. The problem here is that everyone's looking at the wrong Tom. The obvious choice is Tom Cruise. No, but really. After filtering through like dozens of other odd choices that people came up with, I ended up going back to Australia and I found Dustin Clare. He's a hairy son of a bitch who played Gannicus in the Spartacus series. He's a very talented character actor, so I could see him really sinking into the role. I know a lot of people have been saying they want Wolverine to be short. This guy's only 5'8", so he's not the shortest around. But if you get someone who's like 6 foot, 6'2" to play Cyclops, it'll be noticeable. I don't know if anyone's ever going to be able to top the roars of Hugh Jackman, but this guy's got a look about him that I like. I wish I could have found a Canadian actor that I liked as much for the role as this guy, but I'd be really curious to see what he did with it. I want your guys' opinions for all of these characters, but especially for Wolverine. I'm not casting a lot for villains here, but I guess I could take a look at Sabretooth. Liev Schreiber is like one of my favorite actors, and I really like what he did with the role. It's a shame that it was in such a crappy movie and that he never got a second shot. With our attempt to be a little bit more comic accurate with Wolverine, I guess we should go the same direction with Sabretooth. I think Ryan Hurst would be a nice, hairy, feral beast of an actor. He could be like this over-the-top maniacal character. I think Ryan could sell that really well. Now, Storm, I saw two excellent choices for this role. I can hardly pick between them. Sonequa Martin Green and Yaya DaCosta. I think I would end up going with Yaya. I could be convinced of either one though. I'm so torn on that one that I can't really pick. Next we have Nightcrawler. Again, I don't know what to do with this one. Should the character be CGI so he can be like inhumanly thin and creepy and more like a Nightcrawler? The best thing of all of the X-Men movies that have been made so far is that opening scene of X2 with Nightcrawler teleporting all over the place, kicking everyone's ass. That shit is burned into my memory from the 400 times I've seen that movie. Here's another random casting pick that I'm just slapping out there just cuz. Paul Dano. I love me some Paul Dano. He could be awkward and cool and unique as Nightcrawler, but the most popular fan pick seems to be Rami Malek. I think that's a pretty good pick. I'd be down for that. But I almost guarantee you this is going to be a weird and outside pick of someone you've like never heard of, if and when Nightcrawler shows up in the movies. For Kitty Pryde or Shadowcat, the best one I saw was Haley Steinfeld. She's like a nice, quiet, unassuming girl who I think would fit nicely into this role. A lot of people said having a character like Jubilee would be good as a nice audience lens for the movie. Kind of similar to how she was an entry point in the X-Men animated series, I think that's a common role for her in the comics as well. You probably want the character cast quite young, so Becky G might work from Power Rangers. Again, I just keep cherry picking from that movie. Whatever else you have to say about it, it did have a strong cast of actors. But I think someone like Hayley Kiyoko might have a little bit of that flair, kind of that fire and sparkle that maybe you're looking for with Jubilee. And yes, those words were all carefully picked, so I think she would be my top choice. Deadpool and Colossus don't need to be touched. They can just be folded into this universe just fine. I guess that means Cable and all the others that they've cast as well, even if that does get weird with Josh Brolin playing two characters. Let's just hope that he hides his voice a little bit as Cable, so it's not glaringly obvious that he's playing two different characters in the universe. Gambit. Gambit is a tough one because he was one of my favorite characters from the old cartoon. God, he was just so smooth. How could anyone not love that charmer? And God, how could anyone think that Channing Tatum could pull that off? I'm so glad that that movie's been stalled as long as it has been, and so glad that it's probably never going to get made now. In my eyes, he has to have that heavy, like, New Orleans, Louisiana accent. He will not work without it. Pedro Pascal is such a good choice. Ah, man, he would be all kinds of perfect for that role. I mean, you guys can just picture it, right? I hardly even have to sell that. He would just be a dope Gambit. Such a shame that Pedro Pascal is already in his mid-40s. I don't think it's worth casting him at this point. For a nice young French actor, I would go with Gaspard Ulliel. He definitely has the look, the accent helps, and he was the best part of that Hannibal Rising movie. I think he would be an excellent fit, and seeing as we'll never have Pedro Pascal in the role, he is really my first and only choice here. Francois Arnaud might do well. I push him a little because he is French-Canadian, but I think Gaspard is the best choice. Rogue, again, two outstanding choices here. First would be Alexandra Daddario. I mean, just look at her and look at a picture of Rogue. Could you ever match anything up more perfectly? Just in terms of looking the part, that maybe is a better fit than anyone else on this entire list. But my actual pick would be Tatiana Maslany, the Canadian actress most known for Orphan Black. This woman has the most outstanding range and could use a major breakout. We need someone who can sell that rogue accent like none other. And she's proven that she's probably the best actress right now at accents. Make it smooth, make it flirtatious, mixed with some kind of like girl next door vibe. And if they ever did the crossover event of Rogue getting her additional powers from Captain Marvel, I could see her working with Brie Larson a lot better than Alexandra. That is like the choice on this list that I am maybe most proud of. And because I'm so particularly proud of that one casting, that seems like a good place to leave it. There's 500 more X-Men. This is already going on so goddamn long. Move on. Which ones do you think will or wouldn't work? Which was your favorite? Which was your least favorite of my picks? But hey, if any of these movies ever do get made, regardless if they go old or young, I have a nice scope here. Maybe I'll get 1 or 2 of them right, in which case I can submit my application to Marvel to become a casting director. It's the last you'll ever see of me when I go become rich with that Marvel money. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Can I help you?